Chapter 1. The First Word. Tom was 7 years old. He sat in a small classroom. His feet didn't touch the floor. His hands were on the table, holding a pencil too tightly. The teacher stood at the front. She smiled and said something. Tom did not understand the words, but he looked around. Other children were nodding. Some laughed. Some raised their hands. Tom stayed quiet. He didn't understand, so he looked down at his notebook. Then the teacher walked over to him. She knelt beside him and spoke again. Her voice was soft. Her eyes were kind. She pointed to herself and said, "Teacher." Then she pointed to Tom and said, "Tom." She smiled again and said, "Hello, Tom." Tom felt his heart beat faster. His hands felt hot. He had never said an English word before. He looked at her. He wanted to say something. He wanted to answer, but he didn't know how. The word hello sat in his mouth like a stone. It felt strange, heavy, new. He looked at her face. She was waiting, still smiling, still patient. Tom opened his mouth and said very slowly, "Hello." It was small. It was quiet. But it was real. His first English word. The teacher clapped her hands gently and said, "Good, Tom." Something changed inside him. It was just one word, just 5 letters. But to Tom, it felt like a key that could open a door. Behind that door, there were new people, new stories, new ways of seeing the world. He didn't understand it all yet, but he felt something, a beginning. At home that night, he sat with his mother. She asked him, "Did you speak English today?" Tom looked down, then smiled and whispered, "Hello." His mother smiled back. "That's good," she said. He repeated the word again and again. "Hello, hello, hello." It started to feel soft, like a friend. The next day at school, he said it louder. He said it to the teacher. He said it to another boy. And slowly, the word became more than a sound. It became a feeling, a way to connect. Tom didn't know then that learning a language is not just about words. It's about courage. It's about the feeling you get when you try something new, when you feel small and afraid, but you try anyway. That is how learning begins, with a tiny, brave step. Sometimes that first step feels scary. You think people will laugh. You think you'll say it wrong. You think your voice will sound strange. But the truth is, everyone starts that way. Even native speakers were once babies with no words. Tom's first word stayed with him. He remembered the sound, the room, the face of the teacher. He remembered the feeling in his chest, warm and shaky. He remembered how that one word made him feel proud. It was not just about English. It was about growing up, becoming a little stronger, a little more open. Later in life, Tom learned many English words. He read books. He watched movies. He spoke with many people. But he never forgot that first hello. That first word was not just a sound. It was a seed. It grew inside him, slowly, silently, until it became a tree. When he met new learners, he told them this story. "Do not be afraid of your first word," he said. "Even if it is small, even if it is not perfect, say it. Let it live. It will carry you forward." So now, if you are starting English, remember Tom. Remember the classroom, the pencil, the voice of the teacher, and remember the word, hello. That was the beginning. Your first word can be anything. Maybe thank you. Maybe yes. Maybe I'm here. Say it. Feel it. Let it be part of you. It will not be just a word. It will be your light. And that is where your English begins. Not in a book, not in a test, but in your heart, with your voice, with your courage, just like Tom. Chapter 2. The Voice in the Mirror. Tom stood in front of the mirror. He looked at himself. His hair was messy. His eyes looked tired. But he didn't move away. He took a deep breath and said, "My name is Tom." Then he looked at his mouth, at his lips, at the shape of his words. He said it again, "My name is Tom." The sound was slow, careful, but real. At first, it felt strange, like he was playing a game. He smiled at his reflection and asked, "How are you?" His voice sounded funny. He felt a little silly. There was no one else in the room, only the mirror, only his face, only his voice. But he kept going. He looked at himself and said, "I am fine. Thank you." He paused. Then he tried again. This time, faster. "I am fine. Thank you." He watched his lips move. He listened to his voice. It still didn't feel natural. But something inside him said, "Keep trying." Every evening after school, Tom stood in front of the mirror for 5 minutes, then 10, then 15. He said simple sentences. "This is a pen. I like pizza. Today is Monday." He practiced greetings, questions, answers. He asked, "Where do you live?" and answered, "I live in a small town." He made up stories. He pretended he was speaking to someone. At first, he copied what he heard in class. Then he added his own thoughts. One night, Tom looked in the mirror and said, "I want to speak English." He looked serious. His voice was calm. That was the moment he knew. This was not a game. It was real. He was learning to speak, not for school, not for a test, but for himself. Sometimes he made mistakes. He said the wrong word. He laughed at himself, but he never stopped. He told himself, "It's okay." He knew the mirror would not judge him. It was safe. It was quiet. And in that quiet, his voice grew stronger. He practiced questions he might hear one day. "Do you speak English? Can I help you? What time is it?" He also practiced answers. "Yes, I do. No, thank you. It's 5 o'clock." Each sentence made him feel more ready, more confident. Slowly, Tom's face in the mirror began to change. He saw less fear, less doubt. He saw a boy who was learning, a boy who was trying, a boy who was not afraid to make mistakes. That made him smile. After a few weeks, something special happened. Tom was walking home from school. A tourist stopped him and asked in English, "Is there a bakery nearby?" Tom froze for a moment. Then he remembered the mirror. He remembered the words. He said, "Yes, go straight, turn left." The tourist smiled. "Thank you." Tom nodded. "You're welcome." When the tourist walked away, Tom felt something big inside his chest. It was pride, not the kind you show off, the quiet kind, the strong kind. He smiled and whispered, "It worked." All those days in front of the mirror, every word, every sentence had helped him speak in the real world. He didn't need a classroom. He didn't need an audience. He only needed one thing: time with himself. That was the secret. Tom kept practicing, even when he was tired, even when he didn't feel like it. Some days, he only said 2 sentences. Other days, he talked for 10 minutes. He talked about his day, about his dreams, about his family. The mirror became a friend, a place where he could try, fail, learn, and grow. In time, his voice became more natural. The sentences flowed, his accent improved, his confidence grew. He didn't feel silly anymore. He felt strong, because he had created a space where he could learn with no fear. If you are learning English, try what Tom did. Stand in front of the mirror. Look at yourself. Say your name. Say what you like. Say how you feel. Use small words. Use true words. Don't worry if it sounds strange. Don't stop if you make mistakes. The mirror is just for you, and your voice matters. Learning begins when you give yourself permission to speak, even if no one listens, even if no one is there. Because in those quiet moments, something powerful happens. You begin to believe in yourself, and that belief, like Tom's voice in the mirror, is the beginning of everything. Chapter 3. My First English Friend. Tom was sitting on a bench in the park. It was a Sunday afternoon. The sun was warm. The trees were quiet. People walked by, some with children, some with dogs. Tom liked this time. He came here often. He liked to think, to watch, to be still. He had his notebook in his hand. He was writing English words. Slowly, one by one. He was trying to make simple sentences. The dog is small. The sun is bright. I like this park. He looked up and smiled. Then he saw someone. A boy, a little older than him, sitting on the next bench. He had light hair. He had a book in his hand, but it was not a school book. It was a story book, in English. Tom looked again. Then he looked away. He wanted to say something, but he was not sure. Maybe the boy was busy. Maybe he didn't want to talk. But something inside Tom said, "Try." So he waited. He waited for a chance. And then the boy sneezed. Tom looked at him and said, "Bless you." The boy smiled. "Thanks," he said. Tom felt his heart beat fast. The boy had replied, in English. Tom pointed to the book. "Do you like it?" he asked. "Yes," the boy said. "It's funny." Tom smiled. "I like books too," he said slowly. "But English is hard." The boy laughed gently. "Yes, sometimes." That was the beginning. They talked a little more, just short sentences, simple words. Tom said, "My name is Tom." The boy said, "I'm Ryan." They shook hands. It felt nice. It felt easy. The words were few, but the feeling was clear. They were becoming friends. After that day, they met often, in the same park, on the same bench. They brought books. They talked about stories. Sometimes they just sat quietly. Sometimes they tried to explain things. Ryan spoke English well. Tom didn't. But Ryan never laughed. He never rushed. He listened. He waited. Tom felt safe. He felt brave. He asked questions. "What is this word? How do you say this? Is this correct?" Ryan helped. He gave small answers. He showed examples. He even made funny faces to explain new words. Tom laughed. Ryan laughed too. They laughed a lot. One day, Tom brought a small notebook. He called it his friend words book. Every time Ryan said a new word, Tom wrote it down. Then he used it in a sentence. "Tree," he wrote. "The tree is tall." "Cloud," he wrote. "The cloud is white." They did this together, every weekend. Slowly, the book got full, and Tom's heart got full too. They shared food. Tom brought rice cakes. Ryan brought sandwiches. They talked about their countries, their schools, their families. They were different, but they were the same. They both liked stories. They both liked learning. They both liked laughing. One day, Tom said something without thinking. "I feel happy with you." It was not perfect English, but it was perfect friendship. Ryan looked at him and said, "Me too." Tom learned many words from Ryan, but more than words, he learned confidence. He learned how to listen, how to wait, how to enjoy the moment. He learned that language is not just sounds, it is connection. Their friendship changed him. He stopped being afraid to speak. He stopped feeling small. He started to believe that he could really learn English, not just from books, not just from teachers, but from people, from life. He thought about this many times. "Learning is not just in the classroom," he said to himself. "It is in the park, on the bench, in a smile, in a laugh." That was true learning. That was real English. Even after Ryan moved away, Tom remembered everything. The words, the jokes, the kind eyes, the slow conversations. He kept the notebook. He still looked at it. Every word in it had a story. Every word had a face, a memory, a moment. If you are learning English, find someone like Ryan, a friend, a listener, a person who sees you, not just your mistakes, but your heart. And if you cannot find that person yet, be that person for someone else. Because language grows best between people, in friendship, in kindness, in patience. Tom's first English friend taught him more than grammar. He taught him how to be open, how to be human. And that lesson stayed forever. Chapter 4: Mistakes That Taught Me. Tom was walking home from school. His backpack was heavy. His feet were slow. He was thinking about what happened in class. He felt hot, not because of the sun, but because he was still embarrassed. He had made a mistake, a big one. At least, it felt big to him. It was English class. The teacher asked everyone to share something about their weekend. Tom raised his hand. He wanted to speak. He had practiced the sentence at home. I went to the park with my dog. He had said it to the mirror, to his pillow, even to the cat. But in class, something went wrong. He stood up. Everyone looked at him. His heart beat fast. He said, I went to the dog with my park. The class was quiet for 1 second. Then someone laughed. Another boy laughed louder. Even the teacher smiled a little. Tom sat down. His ears turned red. His eyes looked at the floor. He wanted to disappear, but the teacher was kind. She said, That's okay, Tom. You tried. That's good. She repeated his sentence correctly. I went to the park with my dog. She smiled. Tom nodded, but inside, he felt small. He thought, I should have stayed quiet. I can't speak English. That evening, he didn't want to practice. He closed his book. He didn't look in the mirror. He sat on his bed and stared at the wall. But later, his mother came into the room. She sat beside him. She asked, How was school? Tom shook his head. I made a mistake, he said. I said the words wrong. Everyone laughed. His mother didn't laugh. She touched his shoulder and said, Tom, do you remember when you learned to ride a bicycle? Tom looked at her. Yes. She smiled. You fell many times. You hit your knees. You cried. But then one day, you rode all the way to the shop and back. You were proud. Do you remember? Tom nodded slowly. English is the same, she said. Mistakes are not bad. They are part of learning. They are your teachers. That night, Tom thought about her words. He opened his notebook. He wrote the sentence again. I went to the park with my dog. Then he wrote, I went to the dog with my park. He laughed a little. It was funny now. After that, he didn't hide from mistakes. He watched himself. When he said something wrong, he stopped, smiled, and corrected himself. No, that's not right. Let me try again. Sometimes he even laughed out loud. One time he told Ryan, My stomach is raining. Ryan looked confused, then laughed. You mean your stomach is hurting? Tom laughed too. Yes, hurting, not raining. That small mistake made them both laugh, and Tom never forgot the word hurting again. Mistakes became moments, not just bad ones, but useful, even funny ones. They stayed in his memory, like bright little lights. In school, he saw other students afraid to speak. They looked down. They stayed quiet. Tom wanted to tell them, it's okay. You will say the wrong word, but that word will help you. It will teach you. It will make you better. He began to help others. When someone made a mistake, Tom smiled. He said, try again. He became the kind voice that he once needed. Sometimes he made new mistakes. He said chicken instead of kitchen. He said bored when he meant boring. But he kept going. He even made a list in his notebook. My mistake words. He wrote them in red. Then he fixed them in blue. He read them often. They were like little friends. They reminded him how far he had come. Tom learned that perfect English is not real. Real English is alive. It grows with you. It falls. It stands up. It laughs. Just like you. So if you are afraid of mistakes, don't be. Say the wrong word. Say the funny sentence. Mix up your grammar. Then fix it. Smile. Keep going. Mistakes are not your enemy. They are your map. They show you the road. They say, try again. You're getting close. Tom's English was built on mistakes. Brick by brick. Word by word. One wrong sentence at a time. Chapter 5. Words from the Heart. Tom sat by the window one evening. The sky was dark. The street was quiet. He held his phone in his hand. A message from his friend was on the screen. It was in English. Just a few words. I'm leaving next month. Going back to Canada. Tom read it twice. He felt something heavy in his chest. He wanted to reply, but he didn't know how. He didn't want to say only, okay. That was not enough. He wanted to say more. He wanted to say, I will miss you. He wanted to say, thank you for being my friend. But the words did not come easily. He looked out the window and thought, what is the point of learning English if I cannot say what I really feel? That night, he opened his notebook. He wrote down some words. I miss you. I'm thankful. I hope you come back. Then he spoke them aloud, one by one. I miss you. His voice shook a little. He wasn't sure if it was because of the words or because of the feelings. Maybe both. In the past, English was for homework, for exams, for spelling tests. But now, it was different. Now, it was for something real, something soft, something deep. Tom remembered another time, weeks earlier, when he made his mother upset. He had come home late. He had forgotten to call. She waited at the window for hours. When he walked in, she didn't speak. She just went to her room. Tom stood there, feeling wrong, feeling guilty. He wanted to say, I'm sorry. but saying sorry in English felt strange, too simple, too small. He wasn't used to saying it aloud. But later he knocked on her door. He looked at her and said softly, "I'm sorry. I made you worry." She looked surprised. Then she nodded. She pulled him into a hug. That hug said everything. Tom felt warm. He felt forgiven. That day, he learned something. Small words can fix big things. He began to practice those kinds of words, real words, not long grammar, not big vocabulary, but simple, true sentences. He stood in front of the mirror again. He said, "I miss you." He said, "I love you." He said, "I need help." At first, it was awkward, but then it became honest. It became easy, like opening a window. At school, he saw another student crying. She was sitting alone. He didn't know her name, but he sat beside her and said, "Are you okay?" Just 3 words, but her eyes met his. She nodded slowly. That was enough. English, he realized, was not just for tests. It was not only for reading books or writing essays. It was for connection. It was for people, for feelings, for moments that mattered. He made a new list in his notebook. He called it Heart Sentences. I miss you. I understand you. I am here. You did well. Don't give up. Thank you. I care. He read them each day. He practiced them with friends, with family, even with strangers. And every time he used them, something beautiful happened. People smiled. People listened. People opened their hearts. Tom's favorite word became sorry, because it could heal things. His second favorite was thanks, because it could build things. He didn't need long, hard words. He needed true words, and English gave him that. Once, at the end of a class, the teacher said, "Tell me your favorite English sentence." Many students said long, clever things. Tom waited. Then he stood up and said, "I love you." The class went silent. Then someone smiled. Another nodded. The teacher said, "That's beautiful," because it was. Tom learned that when we speak from the heart, language becomes alive. It becomes soft. It becomes powerful. Even the smallest sentence can carry the biggest feeling. So if you are learning English, try this. Say something true, not something long, not something perfect, just something real. Say it to the mirror. Say it to someone you care about. Say it when it's hard, because the best English is not found in books. It's found in the heart. Chapter 6. The Wall and the Window. Tom sat at his desk with his English book open. The page looked the same as yesterday, and the day before, and the week before. He read the sentences. He understood most of the words, but something felt wrong. He didn't feel excited. He didn't feel proud. He just felt tired. He turned the page. Another grammar rule. Another list. Another exercise. He closed the book and stared at the wall. That wall felt real. Not a wall made of bricks, but something inside him, something heavy. He had been learning English for many months now. In the beginning, it was exciting. Every new word felt like a gift. Every new sentence felt like a win. But now, he felt stuck, like walking in mud, like running and not moving. He thought, why am I not getting better? Why do I feel slower now than before? Tom tried to remember the last time he felt happy while studying English. It had been a while. He was still practicing, still reading, still listening, but it all felt dry, empty, like eating food with no taste. The wall was there, and it was tall. For days, he kept doing the same things. Read, repeat, forget. He still went to class. He still took notes. But he didn't feel progress. He didn't feel joy. Then one evening, something small happened. Tom was sitting with his little sister. She was 5. She was learning how to count in English. She said, 1, 2, 3. Tom smiled and said, no, not tree, 3. She looked at him and said again, tree. He laughed. Almost. 3. Like this. He helped her say it again and again. She tried. She failed. She laughed. She tried again. That moment opened something in Tom. He saw how she was not afraid. She was just playing. She was just trying. No pressure. No fear. Just small steps. Just joy. Later that night, Tom sat down again. But this time, he didn't open the big book. He took out a small piece of paper. He wrote just one sentence. Today, I will enjoy learning. Then he picked a short story in English. Not for school, just for fun, a funny one. About a dog who learns to sing. He read it slowly. He smiled. He laughed. And he felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Enjoyment. That small change was like a window. The wall was still there. But now, there was light coming through. The next day, he made another small change. He listened to a song in English. Not for practice, just for the melody, just for the feeling. He sang along. The words were hard, but the rhythm was easy. He felt his body move. He felt his lips move. It felt good. He made more small changes. He started to keep a short diary in English, just 3 sentences a day. I ate rice today. It was tasty. I want more. Simple, true, easy. He also began speaking again to the mirror. Not long speeches, just small talk. Hi, Tom. How are you? I'm good. What's the plan today? It felt funny. It felt real. Slowly, something changed. He still didn't feel perfect, but he didn't feel stuck anymore. The wall was still there, but it was no longer blocking everything. It had a window now, a window made of joy, of tiny habits, of small wins. One day he read a quote online. It said, "Progress is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers." Tom smiled. That was true. His English was whispering, but it was moving. He stopped asking, "Am I fluent yet?" and started asking, "Did I try today?" The second question felt better. It was kinder. It was stronger. He learned that in language learning there will be walls, tired days, boring weeks, times when nothing feels new. But those are not the end. They are just part of the road. Everyone feels them. Everyone climbs over them, or walks around them, or simply waits until a window opens. If you feel stuck, don't stop. Don't quit. Just breathe. Take one small step. Watch a cartoon. Sing a song. Write a silly sentence. Smile at yourself in the mirror. Tiny things bring big change, just like they did for Tom. Chapter 7. The Words. We wish we said. Tom sat on the edge of his bed with an old photo in his hands. The picture showed him as a child, holding a balloon, standing next to his grandfather. They were both smiling. The sun was behind them. The moment felt warm, even now. But Tom's eyes were not smiling. They were wet. He looked at the photo and whispered, "I miss you." Then he closed his eyes and thought back to that last day, the day he wanted to speak, but didn't. His grandfather had been sick. Everyone knew, but no one said it clearly. On that last visit, Tom had sat by the bed. He had held his grandfather's hand. He had wanted to say something, anything. Maybe, "Thank you." Maybe, "I love you." Maybe just, "Don't go." But he didn't. He didn't know how. Not in English. Not even in his own language. He remembered feeling the words stuck inside his mouth, like rocks. Heavy, silent. Now, years later, Tom had many words. But the moment was gone. This thought stayed with him. He began to see that learning English was not only about grammar, it was about being ready for life, for the real things, for moments that pass and never return. He remembered other times. The goodbye at the airport, the day his teacher retired, the message he wanted to send to an old friend. Each time he had the feeling, but not the words. He started to write a new list. He called it, "The Words I Wish I Said." I'm proud of you. Please forgive me. You helped me. I need you. You made me laugh. I never forgot you. You're not alone. They were simple. They were true. But he had never practiced them. No test had asked him to say, "I'm sorry." No homework had taught him how to say, "I care." Tom decided to change that. He made a new rule for himself. One real sentence every day. Not for marks, not for school, for life. He looked in the mirror and said, "I'm doing my best." He sat with his sister and said, "I love your drawings." He messaged a friend, "Thank you for listening yesterday." Each time it felt new. Each time it felt strong. There was one moment he remembered clearly. His classmate was leaving school forever. Her family was moving away. She was packing her books. Students were saying goodbye. Most of them just waved. Some said bye quickly and left. Tom stood there. He didn't want to be quiet this time. He walked up to her and said, "I hope you make good friends. I will miss your smile." She looked at him. Her eyes were full. She said, "Thank you, Tom." Then she hugged him. That hug stayed with him. He realized something that day. People don't remember perfect grammar. They remember feelings. They remember kindness. They remember the words that touch the heart. Later, Tom started helping younger students with English. He didn't only teach rules, he taught real talk. Practice how to say goodbye, he told them. Practice how to say sorry, how to say you are happy, or scared, or proud. These are the words that matter most. He made them write letters, not to pass an exam, but to express something true. A letter to a mother, a letter to a friend, a letter to their future self. Some of the students cried, some smiled, some said, "I've never said this before." And Tom knew this was real learning. Because in life, you don't always get a second chance. People leave. Moments pass. Hearts close. So you must be ready. Ready to speak before silence comes. Ready to use your English not just to explain things, but to open your heart. Tom learned to say, "I miss you." To say, "That hurt me." To say, "I forgive you." These were not easy, but they were important, and every time he said them, something inside him grew lighter. So if you are learning English, don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for perfect words. Say what you feel. Practice now. Speak now. Write now, even if it's not perfect, because the words we say with love are never wrong. Chapter 8. The Beginning. Always. Tom walked through a busy street. He was older now. His hair was a little longer. His voice was deeper. He had a small notebook in his pocket and a quiet smile on his face. The street was not in his hometown. It was far away. The signs were in English. The people spoke fast. The lights blinked. The air was filled with voices, with movement, with life. He stopped at a small cafe. He looked at the menu. Some words were new. He didn't know them, but he didn't panic. He asked the man behind the counter, "What is this one?" The man explained. Tom listened carefully. He smiled and said, "Okay, I'll try it." Then he sat down and wrote the new word in his notebook. Years ago, this moment would have scared him. He would have walked away. He would have stayed silent. But not now. Now he knew that not knowing was okay, that asking was okay, that learning never stopped. He thought back to his first word. He remembered how hard it was to say it out loud, how strange it felt in his mouth, how nervous he was. That was a long time ago, but some feelings never changed. Sometimes, even now, he still got nervous before speaking. Sometimes he still forgot simple words. Sometimes he still said the wrong thing. But something was different now. He didn't stop. He had become something else. Not just a student, not just a speaker, but a traveler in language, a traveler in connection. Someone who used English not just to learn, but to live. He walked down the road and saw a little boy trying to say something to his mother in English. The boy was stuck. His mouth moved, but the word didn't come. His mother waited. Tom walked by and said softly, "Take your time." The boy looked up and smiled. Tom kept walking, but his heart was full. He had become the person he once needed. Later that night, Tom sat in his room with a cup of tea. He opened his notebook. On the first page was his old list, the one that had apple, school, and cat. The letters were shaky. The ink had faded, but he loved that page. It was the beginning. He flipped to the last page. There were new words there, harder ones. Words like belong, believe, forgive, and begin. He looked at the last word and smiled. Begin. It was one of his favorites. Tom had learned something important, something no book ever told him. Learning English doesn't really end. Even when you can speak well, even when you can understand movies, even when you can write long letters, it still begins, every day, with every new word, with every real moment. He remembered the time he couldn't say "I love you." He remembered the time he said raining instead of hurting. He remembered the friend who waited for his sentence. The teacher who said, "Try again." The mirror he spoke to. The photo of his mother. All those pieces made him who he was. Now he wasn't afraid of slow days, or mistakes, or silence, because he knew all of it was part of the journey. The next morning he got a message. It was from an old classmate. She wrote, "Tom, how did you get so good at English?" He replied, "I didn't. I just never stopped." Then he paused and wrote again, "And I never will." Because learning is like breathing, quiet, steady, always there. Some days fast, some days slow, but always moving, always beginning. So if you are watching this and you think, "I am too old," or "I am too slow," or "it's too hard," remember this. The beginning is not behind you. It's inside you. It waits for you each day, in a word, in a sentence, in a quiet moment when you decide to speak. You don't have to know everything. You just have to begin again and again.